Good evening, my name is Bob Stone, the chair of the Underhill Selectboard. Today's date is the 12th of June, 2025. It is 6 o'clock here in Underhill Center. I am calling this regular scheduled Selectboard meeting to order. There has been an agenda that has been submitted in advance. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
One thing, Don Toby has a request that's time sensitive regarding treatment of ash trees.
Okay, so it was not in the packet before.
It was not in the packet before because we didn't get a quote. I can just give you a little background. It's about a $700 request. It is in the budget for ash tree treatment, but if you don't want to hear it, then
No, we're going to hear it the first thing after opening public comment.
okay. We do have Darren here from Chittenden County Regional Planning, but if you want to, there's nobody online.
No one here on the virtual world. Is there anyone here in the town hall that would like to have a public comment? Can't see everybody because it's like Fenway, you know, there's a darn hole in the light. So I'm not hearing anyone say that they have anything to say, so we'll move right to it. Don, welcome to the beautiful Underhill Center.
Thank you very much.
So we were just seeing this, Don, so
Yeah, that's fine.
let us know what you need.
So I've identified 3 ash trees, and it's only 3 that I believe would be beneficial for us to treat so that they can survive. The emerald ash borer has been showing up now all around our area, and there's a lot of mortality happening. But these 3 trees are still in great shape. It's the 2 big ones down in the little Veterans Park by Park Street and Route 15.
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 nice ones there. And then there are 2 right up the road here by the old schoolhouse, you know, the Historical Society building. One of those, though, is in the power lines, and the power company has already hacked off about half the crown. So I don't want to bother spending a bunch of money to keep that alive. But the second one, right on the corner, is actually in really nice shape. So I thought it would be beneficial to try to keep that one alive also, because it affords some shade to the building and lawn there.
Mm-hmm.
We're sure that the 2 trees in the park are in the town of Underhill and not in the town of Jericho.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, it's on this side.
So a motion to approve the request for up to $700 for the treatment of the trees would be in order.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Don, have you identified the emerald ash borer in Underhill yet?
Not specifically, but I did find it in Jericho.
Okay, so it's coming very soon.
Yeah, I just haven't looked. You know, there's
Okay.
all the ash along Poker Hill are dead or almost dead. It's got to be there.
Okay.
I just found it today in Sheldon on a logging job where the ash were dying, and they cut the ash down, and the bases of them, there was no sign of the beetle, but in the tops, we scraped bark off and we found larval tracks all over and larvae. They attack the tops first, so that's why sometimes if the tree is standing, you can't find it, and yet the tree is dead or almost dead.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
I think these 3 sound like ones that are worth trying to invest in.
Yeah, they're reasonably large.
Yeah.
There's one that's almost 25 inches in diameter at the park, and the other one's 20 inches, and the one up here is 15. And the quote that we got is $12 per inch, which is right within the ballpark of what I had put into the ash plan. The treatment is good for 2 years, maybe 3. So it won't have to be spent again next year.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Ready for the question?
Mhm.
All those in favor of allocating up to $700 for a teacher's tree service to try and save the emerald ash trees at Park and here on Pleasant Valley Road. Please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Okay, anything else, Don?
No, not really. I mean,
No.
we're working on some other things, but, so I see this says work could be completed by June 24th.
Yes, on June 24th, done.
Yeah,
So
okay,
then we're in this fiscal year budget, we're using tree line money
Good.
that was allocated. We
Yeah.
talked about this during the budget process. Don came in,
Yeah.
we talked about saving some ash trees, we
Yeah.
talked about cutting some ash
did.
trees. It's all right in line and, you know,
Makes sense. Before July 1, because that's the new fiscal year.
exactly. Yep.
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay,
okay.
thank you, John.
There you
All
go.
right, you're welcome.
Good to see you, Don.
Good to see you guys too. All right,
Next,
have a good evening.
You too.
You too, thank you.
Drive safe.
next item on the agenda is the Act 181 Regional Future Land Use Map Housing Targets and Act 250 Tier 1B feedback. To consider municipal resolution on Tier 1B status. Darren is here from the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening to you all. Nice to see you in person. Last time I saw you was back in October and I was online, but Charlie was here to give you the preview of all the work we've been doing over the last 8 months, actually, at this point. We've been updating our regional plan and also as part of that, updating the regional future land use map. And in doing that work, we've been partnering with all of our municipalities because really this is about your towns and your development and your future and your planning goals. We want to make sure that we are supporting that under this new state law, Act 181, that made some changes to how the state land use planning and development review interacts with the local land use planning and development review. We're trying to bring all of that together under a more regional umbrella rather than it being just towns and state. Yes.
I forgot, Brian, I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's
I was
okay.
gonna get there.
Welcome to the big table. Gave all the kudos to Darren, and I just went on and, I meant to say, you're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you
tonight
very much.
As well.
And it's perfectly fine.
And I was going to get to saying that Brian has been a great partner in the Underhill Planning Commission and helping lead these discussions in terms of what this will mean for Underhill. So we've met with the Planning Commission back in January, I think, or February, sometime in that frame to introduce this idea of our update and what that would mean. We've met again a couple times in May after CCRPC had done a lot of region-wide outreach and worked through some of the draft proposals for that map, as well as our draft regional and municipal housing targets. So here tonight, we were just going to try to focus on the Tier 1B status and making that request, which is about Act 250 exemptions. But knowing that all of these issues are interconnected and that it's a lot to digest, I gave you that memo so that you had all the context you needed. Assuming that you've read that memo, I'm happy to either just start answering questions you might have or to sort of walk you through the topics.
Let me throw that map up on the screen.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, the map
So
was
that
really
map-
helpful.
Actually, let me share it for others here.
Yeah. So I think the important thing to remember about this process and the map and housing targets and even Tier 1B is that this isn't a huge, it's a big shift in terms of how planning is done in Vermont generally, but when you get down to brass tacks, we are really going off of what our communities have already planned for, what we as a region have already planned for. We're not making wholesale changes to that. We're really trying to follow your town plan and your zoning to the extent that we can in statute. And
Hang on, I'm trying to get there as this thing is like,
so this map may look kind of new and you'll see some different colors on there than what you might have been used to, but really it is reflective of your existing land use plan. You've got a mostly rural town, mostly forested, so there's a lot of things in the rural conservation and rural agriculture and forestry for the working lands categories. There's some rural general sprinkled throughout there as you have space for, just small rural homes that are maybe part of that working lands economy or not. But really, the big focus for us tonight is going to be those pink and magenta areas around your centers. You've got 2 village centers, one that you share with Jericho, Underhill Flats and Riverside, and then Underhill Center where we are tonight. One of the goals of Act 181 is to try to streamline how permitting is done. If a town has said, hey, we've got a local plan and regulations, and we allow for housing in a compact, village-oriented pattern in this part of our town, we want that to be reflected if and when a project ever went for Act 250 state-level land use review. We don't need to create a duplicative process for development that everyone agrees should probably happen. And because Act 181 was created in response to the housing crisis, we're trying to really focus on ways to increase the ease with which housing can be developed without going too far. And that's part of why Act 181 asked us to look at these rural areas too. How to talk about that, but what we're bringing before you tonight is this question of should parts of Underhill Center and Underhill Flats have an exemption from Act 250, where a project is between up to 50 units of housing on 10 acres of land or less. That would not have to go to Act 250, but it would still go through your local review process. It would still get all of its state permits that are required in terms of water, wastewater, wetlands, stormwater, etc. And it's really just saving a step in the process for local developers to be able to produce that housing in a way that's consistent with your town plan. So that's really the question before you tonight. We talked this over with the Planning Commission in a couple of meetings, and there were some great discussions about what it would mean to have this exemption, and also about what this land use map might mean for Underhill and what these housing targets might mean and how the town could respond to this. But ultimately, Planning Commission made a recommendation, and I'll let Brian talk about that.
Yeah, the Planning Commission was supportive of this. I think, I don't know if this is bigger picture stuff, but I thought you all might be worth putting in the back of your minds or something. So I went back and I looked at our housing study, and I think the main tension the town's going to have to balance, really, you all, the Planning Commission does its bit, but we're not elected, is we did a housing survey in 2020, and I think there's 10 little appendices on the back, and don't worry, I'm not going to read them to you, but the 10 main takeaways, the sentences were 304 people answered it, and they were a representative sample. Then the number one most important thing was the land and its character are most important factors to those who've chosen to live in Underhill. Then there was something on rentals that doesn't much apply. People in Underhill choose to be homeowners in order to have land and greater control of their living environment. Then there's something about people staying in their homes 55 plus. People choose Underhill because it's not a developed area, and they're seeking the quiet privacy and views afforded by the rural setting. Many Underhill residents consider single-family homes on large lots to be the only appropriate type of housing. The scale and amount of yard open space were important factors. Most Underhill residents think protecting rural character is more important than building homes. Underhill residents generally support town land use policies intended to protect natural resources. Anyway, you get the drift. So I think the tension we all face is we're very supportive of what we're doing here. And I think in the centers, there seems to be support for that. I just do think as we get further down this process, having a process that really includes Underhill residents and getting their thoughts when the next town plan comes up, because these housing goals are supposed to be incorporated in it, is definitely going to be important. So
one of the things I see here is, with in the pink up on the Underhill Flats, that whole northern section there is part of Meadow Lane subdivision, and those all have private covenants. Can't be divided. So you would have to just keep in mind that all the owners would need to somehow
agree.
Get rid of that, get rid of those covenants where it can't be divided. And then you've got the problem in the center with high water table. You know, this
We spoke about all that.
is crazy. I mean, you just look at the house that's built across from the post office, the brand new one. The owner came to us, their basement's full of water all the time.
Mhm.
So, this is what you're dealing with. I wasn't involved with the 1.5 acre rezone, and I have no clue where that came from. But, I don't think it was a wise choice, until, you're in a hole here by the river. And, it's just not desirable for development. However, on the outskirts, I think where you see the purple, I think that's a great idea. That's where a lot of the areas we have in water conservation are prime for, they've got good soils, they're prime for more dense housing.
And the other, sorry, and then I'll shut up. The other thing we spend a lot of time speaking about is like having the state or CCRPC, I'm not sure who, but provide the resources to like do the work on this. Because to be frank, like the Underhill Planning Commission is not going to become experts on like a larger scale wastewater system, like what Westford was looking at, which obviously didn't play out well. So again, that's public input early, but like having some technical resources and some money from the CCRPC or the state, like for both, like that's going to be a critical component if we as a town are ultimately serious about taking this beyond the colors on the map. I mean, that's a fair characterization.
Absolutely, yeah. And the other big part of Act 181 was trying to realign the state designation program with local planning and regional planning. So you have these state designated centers of Underhill Flats and Underhill Center. Those give you access to benefits in like tax credits for historic preservation, a little bit in terms of wastewater study incentives and incentives for developers who are interested in doing things in line with that historic preservation and economic development angle. This new way of looking at our land use maps is trying to bring more of those benefits to those specific areas that we've said, hey, this is where we want those investments to go. It's about simultaneously protecting those rural lands and saying, we know we're not going to build there, but we do want to invest our limited state dollars and regional and local dollars in the places where it's going to make the most difference and where it makes sense to grow if we can grow. So that example of, looking at a wastewater study, that's one of the incentives that will be available to Underhill specifically within those areas of village centers and village areas to say, hey, if we were to do more housing here that is consistent with our local plan and our state goals, what would that look like and what would we need to figure out? Jericho has already applied to us and is going to be starting up a wastewater study. It's exactly like what you're talking about, Brian, to see like how can they put more housing in these places that are already kind of built out, but maybe could build out a little more if there was a little more capacity because of the limited soil issues. So we're definitely a partner to all of our towns in trying to make this happen, and this is really just putting the pieces on the board in the right place to get started.
Thank you. So before we go any further, I think it'd be appropriate to put a motion on the table, and then we could have further discussion if a motion is moved and seconded. So I'm going to move, there's a proposed motion in the packet, move to request that the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission apply for a Tier 1B status for all eligible areas within the village centers and village areas of the regional future land use map. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there discussion?
Any downside? And I know that you answered that question, but not being an expert in this area, like what are the potential downside? There's got to be something that could be a ding.
Yeah. So some theoretical
Have
potential
a
downsides.
skyrise.
Yeah. Probably won't apply that.
We asked the exact same question.
Yeah. No, this is a question that a lot of folks are asking, and I think theoretical downsides to having Tier 1B exemption is there isn't an Act 250 review for those projects in that window of up to 50 units. Really, at this point, given the current Act 250 jurisdiction, we're talking about 10 to 50 unit projects that would now be exempt and not reviewed just at the state level. And the other thing to keep in mind is it would have to be on fewer than 10 acres. So that would be a fairly dense development that probably actually isn't enabled by Underhill's regulations or your septic, availability. So
But the whole point of Act 250 is to have responsibility over development.
it is.
And
And
if
so,
we remove that, we're taking out a layer. So it's certainly better for the developer, but we're taking out a layer of supervision and oversight.
Yeah.
That, to me, there is a con on this. There is a negative downside on this. That
yes.
you could get an issue in front of you, a development in front of you that's not going to have that perfunctory overview.
Right.
Still has to meet the zone, right?
I
We
know,
don't have the
I know,
zoning to
but-
match, so no one's gonna come into 10 acres and throw 10 lots on, because
Well, I guess I'd pose the question is that on Park Street, our neighboring town of Jericho
Exactly.
has a large development that is planned for the sawmill property.
Mhm.
It's looked upon that, access is eventually going to want to enter onto Park Street.
Mhm.
And they have not, to my understanding, gone through an Act 250 process.
Mhm.
If we go along with this, and the town of Jericho also goes along with this, what is the oversight then going to be for such a large scale project that will ultimately affect the town of Underhill without any state oversight regarding Act 250?
Yeah, it's a very valid question. And I was going to say, there are going to be a few gaps in terms of what the town review provides and what Act 250 provides. Part of Act 91 was saying, there is a lot of overlap, but let's talk about those areas that aren't overlapping. It's typically traffic and historic preservation are the two things that Act 250 generally provides that a lot of municipalities don't. You do have traffic regulations in the town of Underhill. So in your development review process, there is a requirement that if it's, I don't know the specifics, but I'm assuming it's something along the lines of development over a certain size has to have a traffic study proving that it's not going to have an impact on town infrastructure or that it's going to be able to be accommodated on the streets that are accessed off of it. Whether that's done administratively through a zoning permit or through the development review board, we do have that local review. The question for you for this Tier 1B request is, do you feel like your local regulations and your local review process can handle that adequately for a development on 10 acres or fewer, that it could be up to 50 units? Because that's the area that you're kind of saying, we've got this covered. Not that you have to review it to the same level that Act 50 would, but that you're comfortable handling that at a local level.
but that's impossible right now.
And the issue with Underhill and Jericho is that
We cannot, so when you get outside of the Underhill Village Center, Underhill Flats Village Center, which is a 1 acre zone, now you're into 3 and mostly in the rural residential zone, if I remember right. So you've got a 10 acre lot. The density is 3 lots, right? 3 acre lots. That's it. You could, and the density for multi-unit housing is more in the Underhill Village Center, Underhill Flats Village Center. But when you get into rural residential, there's no exemptions for multi-unit housing. So you're still looking at 3 lots. Somebody could take 10 acres and split it into 3 lots. You're not looking at 50 units. It can't happen.
right. And so we're really talking about the magenta and pink areas where maybe there's a little potential for someone to do that. The other thing I'll just mention real quick, Brian, is Act 250 provides some level of oversight, but again, there's still those state permits. So if someone was trying to access, a state highway, for instance, Underhill doesn't have oversight of that, but V-Trans still does. So if someone put a 49 unit development off of 15, they'd still have to go get their V-Trans permits.
Adjacent to a town highway. So there has to be a butter.
Right, yeah.
Adjacent
exactly.
to, and we made Jericho aware of that in our letter. And I don't know where that stands, but I just feel really strongly about this. And if you don't mind, I just have one more thing to say, and then I'll shut up. But municipal, so we talk about municipal wastewater, okay? None of our streams here, the Browns River is not large enough to have a sewage treatment plant. So we're not talking about discharge. We're talking about a septic system that's in the ground, conventional. Conventional public systems like that have a high rate of failure. It's no different. I can put a septic system on my lot in the ground and I could have a backup system. You would be better off doing that than you would having being hooked into this huge municipal system that's in the ground, that's bound to fail, you're not gaining anything. If it was sewage treatment and discharge in a river where it could be in perpetuity, that's very different from a septic system that's in the ground in common. Very different.
So we had 3 thoughts to answer your question, Patty. One is we do have traffic rules. 2 is we have a robust DRB.
Yeah.
And 3 is, and I say this as like, I don't know if it's a plus or a minus. It's like, I honestly like, because so much work went into this, and Darren knows this is Darren's been great. It's unclear to us what the upside is, as much as like where's the downside. Like the actual potential for development in Underhill seems extremely low in these areas. You can tell me if I'm off base, but without some sort of large $10 million infrastructure thing with some sort of system, which Brad's more of an expert in than I am, which is why we need technical expertise, but, and that's leaving aside if anyone wants that. But like, there just aren't a bunch of developable lots sitting there where you could do anything. There is not the wastewater capacity to even put a 5-unit building.
There is the wastewater capacity is there. As we see the affordable housing project, that's all conventional soils.
Yeah.
So they just got a window down to get to them. The top is not good, but underneath, you window down, it's all conventional soils. The problem we have in the flats is our lot size is too.
There's no lots.
There's no room. So on the west side of Route 15, you have a top of bank that drops down into a wetland down to the creek. There's maybe some space for some infilling on the top. On the east side, you have the fire station. You have a few smaller homes that are pretty built out, almost 50% density. Jericho's sitting on all the cards, and that's great. But we just don't have, we're not set up like that.
Yeah.
So let's say if we do the exemption and then, like, the thing that I'm most concerned about is not having traffic studies. Like Jericho's potentially not going to have a traffic study. If we do that for our piece, does that affect what they have to do if they're also doing the tier?
That's a good question.
Like, I want them to have a traffic study.
Yeah.
This concerns me. This scene, hold on, Brad.
No.
This scene concerns me.
Mhm.
Because if we give the exemption, that gives them for that development that you very astutely pointed out, gives them the exemption, they don't have to do a traffic study.
So,
It's already crazy congested at the Jolly.
right, yeah. It is interesting to think about this area that overlaps that town boundary. It creates some interesting challenges for towns maybe making different decisions. I'm headed over to Jericho Selectboard later tonight to talk to them about the same thing. So I'll let you know what they say. I think they are leaning towards having Tier 1B exemption for all of their eligible areas as well. So in all likelihood, that Riverside, Underhill Flats area on the Jericho side would have that exemption. But again, they're still doing their local traffic study if required by their regulations. And maybe this is something that
Oh my God, if
Jericho-
they don't do it, they're nuts.
And maybe this is something that Jericho and
Or if
Underhill
they
need to.
change their regulation.
Exactly.
I gotta tell you, I'm not in favor of this. And I will not be voting for it. I don't think the study has gone far enough. I mean, if you're really truly looking at wanting to have a dense population, you have to move beyond the Underhill Flats area, and you're probably going to have to be looking at along the River Road. And you're also gonna have to start looking at, in the Underhill Center map, you're gonna have to start looking at Range Road. Because like it or not, I believe that Uncle Sam is gonna be developing the range, and I think there is gonna be more housing units on the range, and that's going to impact our area. So with that being said, I'm not in favor of this. I think there's too much to chance, and I do like the Agency of Natural Resources and being able to have state control over development.
And that's a perfectly valid choice that every town can make. I'll mention a couple of things. One about process, so that you understand this isn't, the door's open now and it's closed forever. You can revisit this in the future, especially if you do some work in Underhill to identify future areas where there might be more potential and you do feel like you have control over what the development would look like. So this is our first opportunity to put this before the Land Use Review Board, which is going to confirm our regional plan. And when we do that, we make these requests if our municipalities are interested. So just want to be clear, it's totally fine to walk away at this point and say no thanks. The one thing that I hadn't mentioned yet, just for full consideration, is there may be those small projects, and I forget what the total on the affordable housing project on Harvest Lane was. It was more than 8 units? Okay, yeah. So it's possible that they could have done 4 more, I don't know, or a few more that then wouldn't have been subject to Act 250, depending. There may be circumstances where that can come into play. Yeah, and you might not even know about them because that Act 250 requirement pushes people away from even proposing development because of the cost and the time, et cetera. So that's the only thing that you might be missing out on, and the opportunity and the plus, the upside, especially knowing that your own regulations and site conditions may not permit anything larger, but with consideration around the Jericho boundary issue, I can totally understand that you might not want to move forward with that this time. The last thing I'll mention is we don't have to do it for all eligible areas. That's the motion you put was in your packet, and that's the planning commission recommended. But you can just choose from the eligible areas. You could do just Underhill Center, you could do just the village area, not the village center, if you chose. I don't know that that really makes sense in this situation. Just want to let you know your options.
What we're missing here is you guys aren't aware of where the boundaries are for the existing village center. I don't think. That's what I was trying to get at. We have designated village centers. Okay, we have an Underhill one, we have an Underhill Flats one. My question is, does that get thrown in automatically?
Right, so the Tier 1B question about Act 250 jurisdiction is completely separate from the state designations. By approving this map and getting the state to sign off on it, you will automatically get the state designations you have now will remain until we get our regional plan adopted. And once it's adopted, those boundaries will change to those village center dark pink boundaries, which includes all of the existing village center that you have, plus a little more to align with parcel boundaries. So that isn't really changing. The village area is essentially going, the lighter pink is going to fall under the neighborhood program, the neighborhood designation. So similar to neighborhood development area today, it's a simplified, streamlined way of saying these are areas where they're more residential in nature. They support that village center, historic, mixed use, civic, commercial, economic engine. And there's potential incentives for more residential development. Not necessarily saying that it will happen, but if someone was interested in doing that, they'd have those incentives available to them. I can share the state's summary of those benefits and how they're changing and aligning with regional planning, but point being, not much is going to change aside from that village area having those incentives where it didn't before. Village center, the dark pink, or the magenta is pretty much the same as it was.
This is, I wish I could zoom in on this, but what you're seeing on, and Jericho can do whatever they want on their side of the line. It's their choice. We have, this is called the Riverside Underhill Flats area. We apply together, but we apply separately. So this in pink, Darren, is that correct? This is what's currently the village designation.
Exactly.
So we have that now. And that doesn't automatically get thrown in with Act 181 or it
does.
It's given a blank, or it's given a clear for 50 units.
So no, it's not related to the Act 250 exemption. It's just about incentives.
Right.
It's just about non-Act 250 incentives.
And to be clear, Brad, it sounds like this was a mistake for the planning commission, but we did not spend time specifically talking about that connection between the development in Jericho and Underhill. That's not something we spent time on. So
I think that's critical.
it sounds like it.
Ready for the question, or you want more testimony?
No, I think we're good.
All right. Question before you has been read. It's to request that the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission apply for the Tier 1B status for all eligible areas within the village centers and village areas of the regional future land use map. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion fails 3-0. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in
Oh, thanks
tonight.
for-
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you very much. I think this is
Oh, of
really,
course.
like, I'm really interested in like the development of this and the way that we can rely on you guys for resources and help and the work that you guys are doing.
No, of course.
Yeah.
So thank you. very
Yeah,
much.
it's important to have these conversations. That's why
Yeah,
we're doing it.
exactly. It's a good exchange to make us think through.
Many more to come over here.
Yeah.
I think the state's gonna drop their.
A suggestion would be to have an introduction to the village centers, so you understand what those are. And we've done that before, but I think it's an important thing to understand what the incentives are for people, what those designations are.
Yeah, we certainly could have done that tonight. We wanted to try and keep it tight for you and for everyone, but happy to come back and talk about those, especially once we kind of get through our regional plan adoption. The resources are still going to be available, even if you've declined Tier 1B tonight. That's totally fine. And we definitely will be interested in working with Underhill on looking at the town plan and looking at these areas for potential development or not, and how you want to look at meeting the challenge of that housing crisis. So.
Great, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you very
For all your
much.
hard work.
Oh, of course.
Next item on the agenda is the review of the fiscal year 2026 Pleasant Valley Road paving options, recent grant information, timing, and consider option 1 award to FW Whitcomb.
Mike, you want to come up?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello. How you doing?
Hello.
Hello.
So in the packet, you would have, before I begin, I just started right to get it. Mike, welcome. Thank you for
Thank you.
coming tonight.
No, you're welcome.
Um,
Glad to be here.
We got some information on paving of the Valley Road that everyone received in the packet. And Mike's here, I'm sure, to help us navigate this quite a little bit. Russ is here, Brad's here. There's a sample motion, so before we get going, I'd like to get that on the record and get that seconded, and then we can have discussion. I'm gonna move that the town of Underhill award the fiscal year 2026 paving of Pleasant Valley Road Segment 3 to FW Whitcomb Construction Corporation based on the bid of $381,697.50 for option 1, contingent upon execution of the grant, with the understanding that the final cost may vary based upon the actual tons by minimus, am I saying that right? Concrete laid and upon an adjustment for the cost of virgin liquid asphalt as calculated using the V-Trans Asphalt Adjustment Index referenced in the town's bid documents. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
So we got the grant, well, it looks like we got the grant. I included the letter that Dave Hoskins sent. We're all really surprised, but it's not in our hands yet.
Great news, though, that we are recommended for approval.
Yeah, we were all really surprised.
Those grants are typically $200,000, but until we actually get the award, we won't know for sure.
That was
Could be
my
less.
questions, of if we knew
Could
what
be
to
less.
anticipate. Okay.
Our thinking projects 200, but
I would think that we would, I would think that if, it would all be positive, that we wouldn't have received this communication if we weren't going to be getting something significant.
I agree. And they obviously know the price. So when we applied for the grant, that application's in your packet, right? So we
So
applied,
that's the estimated project amount of 427,000?
that's what we estimated
Okay.
before we got the bids for option 1,
Got it.
right? So this came out, we applied for this before we went out to bid.
Got it.
So we're pleased with the bids, obviously, but the grant was based on option 1. So either take the grant or don't take the grant. And if you take the grant, it has to be option 1. So there's
Why
no,
wouldn't we take the grant?
there's no reason you wouldn't. I'm just saying we can't mess around with options. It's option 1 in the grant, move forward.
So the 381,697.50 is what the cost is going to be that FW Whitcomb is giving us a bid for.
correct.
If we get the $200,000 from the state, it would potentially cost the residents of the town of Underhill $181,697.50.
Correct.
Right.
Seems like a
We have,
no-brainer to me.
Mhm.
we put 340,000 into this project, right? So, And we were debating last time we met, option 2 versus option 1. Now those are off the table. If you want, it's option 1. So we put a couple of, these are asphalt price adjustments that Tyler uses. And basically Mike could explain it, but the first one is what he's expecting the asphalt adjustment price to become. And you'll see in the green that the price would increase to about 3,000. And the second example is a really worst case example of the asphalt price going to 790, which is highly unlikely, he said.
Do you know where they source the asphalt?
So this is not asphalt. So this is tar.
Right.
This is the tar that goes into the asphalt, and the tar is about 5%.
5% typically, 4 to 5% of the whole mix
Right.
by
Okay.
weight is this virgin liquid asphalt.
Got it.
And that's what goes up in price according to these indices.
And these,
But with this grant, even if it goes up 3, in the worst case scenario, 17, we are still well below, with that grant coming from the state, we are still well below what we had budgeted in our budget for this project.
absolutely. I want to make sure everybody understands when the bid comes in, it's most likely, or when the final price comes in,
It's going to be a little
a
different.
bit different.
It's a guess. A real educated
We like to
guess.
call it an estimate, but yeah.
So in the motion we crafted there is contingent upon execution of the grant. So
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
if for some reason something falls through, we're back to the.
Yep.
So if we approve the 381,697 and then the price is higher, do we have to come back?
No,
Take
the
action.
motion says contingent upon execution of the grant with the understanding that final costs may vary.
Okay. We're good to go.
That's the way the bid was written.
That's taking into account, like, we don't get anything. If we got 0 from the state, we're still moving forward with getting that road done.
Right, but you may choose a different option. That's all.
Right. Every indication looks like we are getting that
Yeah.
grant.
Yes.
This is, if the grant comes through, we move on option 1, roughly 381 and
I'm
change.
gonna continue to have faith that we're gonna get money from the state of
I
Vermont.
think so too.
You ready for the question?
Mhm.
All those in favor of the motion that I read earlier, I'll read it again, that the town of Underhill award the fiscal year 26 paving of Pleasant Valley Road Segment 3 to FW Whitcomb Construction Corporation based on the bid of $381,697.50 for option 1, contingent upon the execution of the grant, with the understanding that the final cost may vary based upon the actual tons of
Bitumen.
Bituminous.
concrete laid and upon the adjustment for the cost of virgin liquid asphalt is calculated using the V-Trans Asphalt Adjustment Index reference in the town's bid documents. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thanks, Mike.
Right.
That was easy.
Thank you.
I guess the only reason I'm a little cautious is because this is a recommendation to the legislature. The legislature holds the purse strings. Things are a little wonky up there these days, but
Yeah.
let's hope that
Yes.
it all
That's
works
great
out.
I
news.
have
We were shocked to hear
Great
that we were
news.
going to get that grant.
It's really
Because they had
great.
told us in a meeting a month ago that we were 17th on the list,
Yeah.
and they usually gave out 7 grants. So we
We
thought
did
there's no
something
way,
right.
I
on God's
understand
green
that,
earth, we were going to get that grant.
Superior grant filling out. for the
Exactly.
request.
I understand that donuts or maple syrup may have had a little, sweeten the tone of the meeting when you guys went down there. I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, I think there's a couple things. We
Well, there's some
reminded,
pictures in here, and when you put
Oh,
that car in the
Oh,
bottle,
so
I think
real
they
facts.
probably said, oh, we're going to help these guys.
so I think there's a couple things.
Right.
I think we reminding them that we gave up $200,000 and
Yes.
returned that
Yeah.
was important.
Yeah.
And I think the second part of this is that this is not a grant for just a shim and an overlay. we're fully reconstructing the road.
Mhm.
We're doing something, it's money well spent. So
Absolutely.
those are the two.
Short of actually digging out the road and starting over from scratch, 2.5 feet deep.
Yeah.
This is the best we can do,
Exactly.
so.
Well,
Okay.
keep my fingers crossed that it continues to go in a positive direction.
Let's hope.
All right, well, you're still in the hot seat, Mike, unfortunately, because we
geez.
get to talk
Thought
about
I was
bridge
trying
number
to escape
7
to
and its
dinner.
repair. Well, we'll get you out of here as quick as
No,
we
it's
can.
all right, I'm kidding.
I don't think Mike was really.
Oh, he doesn't want to talk about that?
No,
Yeah,
I'm
if
happy
you'd
to.
like.
Yeah, I'll stay.
I like having Mike
I
around.
don't know what we're.
So do you, I think I better,
Oh,
I
yes,
think
yeah.
I better explain it.
I looked
because
at it with.
Yeah. So so as we know, we had the damage from the accident this winter. We already settled that claim with the insurance company. The guardrail post caved in. There's a giant hole
Is
in
there any way to open it back up?
the claim.
Big claim?
We need to get this fixed. We can try that later, but we need to get this fixed. I was really concerned a week ago when the Seymour went up. I went down there and it was, if you get a big rainstorm, you're gonna rip that wing wall right off. It's just gonna be gone. So Cricket went out and looked at it with me. She made this,
Mhm.
sheet here. I had Craig Armstrong come down, take a look at it. He worked up a quote of 23 to 2,500. Keep in mind, you've got a lug block down into this hole, along with rebar and compressors and concrete, and work in an area that you can't stand up in. So,
Seems like pretty cheap price for all that needs to be done.
and he's willing to do it, and so
Is he available in the near future?
he's ready to do it right now. I just had to get approval.
So let's put a motion on the table so we can continue this valuable discussion. I'm gonna move that the town of Underhill hire Craig Armstrong to make the necessary repairs described by Cricket McAllister, professional engineer, at a price not to exceed $2,500, and to use the funds from the fiscal year 25 highway budget under the miscellaneous contractor line. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, now we have a motion, been seconded.
He had asked, the only request he'd had is if we could weed whack a path down to the area that where he could get in there easily, and I'm more than happy to do that. And there's a log down there that I think should be cut that would make his life easier. You gotta carry these blocks down, you gotta get them in there, so,
We're just gonna run the dogs from Patty's house.
okay, we can do that, run him down to the brook. So anyway, that was his only request. That was his only request, so.
What do you think about talking to Danny Clayton and making sure it's okay and he could drive his truck right in against the end of that thing?
Yeah, I thought about that. Yeah, it's still tight in there. He can't quite, it's kind of a ditch in there and a little tight. But he saw a place he could set his, he's been there, checked it out. He just doesn't want to walk through, neck deep weeds with.
I know we
logs.
have weed whackers and we have chainsaws. I think that, we have enough talent that we probably could make something happen.
Is Craig the only person who is, I'm just thinking in interest of like whether there are other bids are needed to pursue other
So
options.
we never, so with these miscellaneous contractor line,
Mhm.
I haven't seen any bids yet.
Okay,
We have trucking of stone, we don't bid out. We have excavation people, we don't bid out. It's a time sensitive thing. I could certainly look for other
I
prices,
just want
but
to ask, but I think it's.
I think you're really
Yeah.
dreaming if you're gonna think you're gonna find somebody that's gonna go down and do that. But
That's my assumption is
more
that
than
this
happy to
is,
look.
I don't think we need to. I just wanted to ask the question, but.
Yeah,
I
good
think
question.
it's, I'm comfortable moving forward with this person who's available and we're confident. Oh, good. Yeah. Oh, great.
And he's helped us before in tricky, weird situations like this. So, he was just my first contact.
Patty said it was the right thing to do, because it's near her house. Right? All those in favor of hiring Craig Armstrong up to $2,500 to fix bridge number 7, please signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. See, Patty,
And
nothing to worry about.
Thanks to Cricket for this set of work orders or,
Right.
her recommendation, and being so helpful.
Yeah, Brad, it doesn't hurt to make that phone call to the insurance company, say, hey.
I'll try. It's, yeah,
Residual damage that
Yep.
showed up.
we didn't know.
We repaired it, here's the bill.
I thought you told me that we did get some money from the guy's insurance,
We did, but
It
this
was
happened
payments.
after we
It
settled
was-
with them. So
but did we settle for enough to cover this?
we settled for replacement of the guardrail
Okay,
and the pick job out of there. So I have been in contact. I'll open it back up again. I didn't sign anything saying it was closed, so
All right.
Well, doesn't hurt to ask.
great.
Well, thanks, Mike. You can stick around some more if you want, but I think
No,
we're
I
all
guess I'll
done
go
with
eat
the road stuff.
there aren't any other items for me though, really.
No,
We
I
gotta
don't
talk
think
about
so.
the town pond, the cemetery, Dumas Road, speed traffic.
Cemetery, I avoid those discussions at all costs.
Yeah, for those.
Good idea.
All right.
Alright.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Mike.
much.
Good night, Mike. Good night.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda, we are 5 minutes ahead of schedule, just so you know. Is the Underhill Town Pond play structure proposal that was in the packet. Gonna move to authorize the purchase of playground equipment for the town pond, utilizing the remaining ARPA funds allocated for the purpose and the remaining balance to come out of the fiscal year 25 recreation budget committee budget. Is there a second?
Second,
So they sent us what they are looking for. They gave us a beautiful map. I don't know what you have for questions.
Looks great. I did have a question of like, what is the remaining ARPA funds? And then what is the rec committee's, budget, like where
Yeah,
where
so
this comes out?
I can tell you that.
Okay.
So basically, they have, if you wanted to amend your motion, I didn't have these numbers when I wrote the packet. So the remaining ARPA funds, if you wanted to jot this down, are $25,394.
Okay.
There is approximately $4,000 left in the budget. So if you add those two numbers up, you're at 29,394.
And that's,
And the total
below
cost
the
is
estimate.
26, so I think,
Okay.
um,
I like that math.
and they understand they're gonna eat into some of their budget with the
oh,
playground.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, they knew this, they've been working on it for
Yeah.
months.
I think this is fabulous.
Mm-hmm.
Get little kids down there.
It wouldn't hurt to put that dollar amount in the motion for the ARPA, and then the remaining funds to be out of the fiscal year 25.
Well, they could
Recreation
put some
fund.
wax on that slide so they go really fast and
Yeah.
just skip it right into the pond. That'd be fun.
I think this is gonna be a great asset for the town. And
Looks fun.
I
Does.
personally will benefit from being able to hang out there.
Well, we
so.
have to do it now.
Exactly.
Uh,
All right, so there's a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Any other discussion?
To amend the motion to include the total estimate of 26,476.64,
mhm.
Yes.
being funded by an ARPA
We
pot
already-
of money. You wanna do the whole amount? You wanna state these amounts?
Just
No.
the entire amount of ARPA being spent. The remaining 25,000, the number I just gave you.
Yeah, we're good, because the ARPA represents 25,394. Their budget, that they're coming to us with is 26,476. So they're, $1,600 short?
Right,
So the 1,600 is gonna come from the 4 that they have left over,
Mhm.
so.
just so
They
that the
still
motion
have-
reflects the numbers. I think that's what the thought
So
was.
authorize the purchase of the playground equipment for the town pond utilizing the ARPA funds, $25,394 for the purpose, and the remaining balance of up to $4,000 to come out of the fiscal year 25 recreation committee budget.
Yep.
Been seconded by Maureen, because she says she's going to go down there. And now we got the numbers in there.
Okay, thank you.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Here we go, strap yourself in. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries 3-0. See, Maureen?
I'm pumped.
Yeah.
This is great.
Mhm.
Okay, next. Brad, So you now, the town administrator items. First one is the Underhill Town Cemetery update. Kurt and Susan Belton have been waiting patiently.
Good evening, Belton.
Hi.
Hello.
So we have some information that came forward about the tree removal, and you guys have been busy and got a couple estimates for us to look at. And looks like there's a motion on here to try to award this to John's Tree Service in the amount of $3,300. Estimate is for $2,500 to $3,000 to get the tree down on the ground and stack the brush in an open area, or $3,300 to get the tree down on the ground and chip the brush. So
You want a little background information first?
I hope so.
Okay. So you have,
I want to commend the photographer for the picture included in the packet. It's a lovely photo.
It is a beautiful photo.
which one?
It's probably.
The one of the tree.
Oh, I
This
took
one
it.
here. Well done. It's a nice picture.
Hate to cut it down.
I
don't you?
do,
I know.
but
Um,
gotta go.
So currently, we have 2250 in the cemetery line, okay? But as you remember, Kurt and Susan talked about the grant that we got permission from you all to apply for.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a $1,000 grant with
With our $500
match.
match.
So 50% match. We're spending more than $1,500, so we've created our match. So this would be another supplement. So basically, you would be $2,250 plus $1,000 if we got the grant. Would be $50 short of covering the work. There's another little piece to this though. So when we did the work, you're all set, Anton, we're done with you.
Maureen said she wanted it and we got it. She said we had to do it.
You're good. You're good, but you're always welcome to stay and hang out.
The
But
Beltons are here, want to talk about the cemetery.
so we're ready. So anyway, during that MMU work party,
Thank you very much.
that you saw the picture of all those kids, we created a ton of brush, a giant pile large as this room, up on the flat part of the cemetery where there's nobody
By the back gate.
by the back gate. Dennis Williamson is gracious enough to, after, Kurt's been talking with him, I don't know if you want to explain, but he's been gracious enough to allow us access.
Is that
up
the
through
landowner of the house and the rental that's
rental
like
house.
behind it? Okay,
Yes.
got it. Okay.
So he's willing to let us use this space, to get the brush out. He's willing to let us use it for future work days.
For parking.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But in kind, I think he did make a request, so he has a brush pile that I think you saw out in the field. He's willing to take his tractor with the grapple and add our brush to that pile if we would agree to hire someone like Ernest Crush with his tub. He has a tub on a log truck and he loads brush out with the town. Russ has used him before. So it's basically a giant tub cradled in a log truck. So he fills it with brush. We would take the brush to Chamberlain's where they have the gigantic pile for the corn harvest.
With permission. We haven't gotten that
Right, but he'll take any and all brush he can get his hands on.
Is it for bonfire?
Oh yeah, huge. It's the size of like 10 houses.
Underhill Center.
Good enough. I could see this.
Designated area.
Okay.
So I guess we're proposing, and I looked up some old, so when Russ had used, and we're not sure if Ernest would want to do this, but I'm just throwing this out for information. So it looks like he used around $110 an hour.
yet. Nate said he might be up to 150.
Okay, fine enough. So I'm thinking there's no more than 6 hours. He can load pretty quickly, I'm assuming. There can't be more than 6 hours of work there, tops. It's a short run. So even at 150, at 6 we're talking $900, right?
Mhm.
I took the liberty of figuring out what you have left in your select board contingency for this fiscal year, and you have around $6,200, probably more than that. But $6,200 conservatively. So those are something to consider, I think. We don't know if we're gonna get the grant.
I'd say
But-
there's probably a 95% chance we'll get there.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
Right, I talked to Diane.
Yeah, she's
Yes.
waiting for the application. She's ready to go.
Okay.
No one's applied for the funds.
No,
yet.
others have inquired, but no one's applied.
And
So-
she was at the work day, so she knows
All right.
all about it.
Oh,
She's,
good.
and she's coming back for the other two.
The 28th and the 9th.
She's all in.
Good,
Nice.
good, that's great.
So I feel comfortable with, the allocation of the motion for $3,300 for John Hinton's, of John's tree service to get the tree down.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we take care of that bite of the apple first? Ready for that question?
Mm-hmm.
All those in favor of awarding John's tree service up to $3,300 to take the maple tree down at the cemetery here in Underhill Center?
Did we make a motion on second?
You
Yeah,
seconded it.
or no, yeah, I think so. Well, we didn't say the amount, but,
Okay.
no, you did. Yeah, yeah.
Let me say it again.
Second?
Yeah, see, watch this.
The 3-1 Johnny Club.
The mention comes in around 6:30. I'm gonna move to award the maple tree removal and additional work to John's Tree Service in the amount of $3,300. Is there a second?
Second.
See,
Here you go.
just in case.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Write it down.
Okay.
So we've already talked about it, so all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. So we got John's part done. So now we need to allocate money for this other guy to come in to move the brush and to agree that we will to take on more than just the maple tree. We're gonna take on the neighbor's brush pile too. So because he's giving us access and one hand washes the other.
And, exactly, Bob, and the fact that probably some of that brush is our brush too.
He told us that most of that brush came out of the cemetery.
Okay,
Okay.
so there you go.
And we
That
have,
was his tree that fell in.
It was his tree that
Yeah.
fell in.
Yeah.
and we have money in our contingency fund. We just don't have a price as far as how much that's gonna cost.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna move that we spend up to $2,500 for the removal of the brush. And hopefully we can get it to Paul Chamberlain's to help, make those dollars go further.
Mm-hmm.
Too much. We'll not tell Nate that.
Right.
We will, we will, Nate is gonna coordinate with, Ernest Crush. Just see hey, here's the pile, what's it gonna cost to do that?
Right.
Okay.
I need to
exactly.
show our hand.
Nate,
We just don't know what it's gonna be.
Nate thought it would be like 2.5 loads. And so I had more advantageously estimated it to be a half day, 4 hours, but I think thinking it would be 6 hours is giving us a cushion.
Mhm.
Any other discussion? Ready for the question?
Yeah.
All those in favor of, having an additional $2,500 for brush removal for the Underhill Cemetery project, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed with a nay. Motion carries 3-0. So I think we have addressed all the concerns. We got money to take it down. We got money to move it away.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna
And then
apply for
after
the grant.
July,
We're gonna apply for the grant tomorrow.
Yes, sounds
Cool.
good.
So
Thank
you're gonna send me the estimates?
Yes.
Oh, you did?
Well, I'm
We
gonna
have
send
it,
you,
we have
it's in the packet.
It's
so
in
It's in the
just-
packet and,
We have
Pictures.
we have the pictures,
okay,
and I just need the form
the
signed.
form it,
Yep.
signed.
Okay,
We can do that.
Yeah.
If we could do that before noon, I'd appreciate it.
I'll come down.
Great,
okay.
okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good
Can you-
luck getting the application in tomorrow.
Can you scan it to us?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that would be better, because she wants an electronic,
Oh, yeah, yeah, we can, if you come down, we'll fill it all out,
but
put it
you
all
have it.
together.
You have it.
Okay. But,
do we need to sign it?
no, I
Just
think,
a town official.
Okay.
He passes.
He passes.
we'll get it. So I just need a good copy of it. If you have the original,
Oh.
I just
okay,
don't want
sure.
to scan a scan
Got
of a
it,
scan.
Got it.
That's all.
Okay. And all this by the end of the fiscal year?
Yes, well, that's
No,
what's in the, yeah.
Yes.
So John Hinton
Okay.
agreed to get it completed between
Okay.
um, now and the end of the fiscal year.
And do you have to receive the grant money by the end of the fiscal year?
Not necessarily,
Okay, good to know.
but if we had an
Try.
indication, if it was
Yeah.
approved, that would be great.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll get that in very short order, I'm sure.
Okay.
Thank you for all your work.
Thank you very much.
Looking
We'll
good.
see you in August
Yeah,
for my
keep up the
birthday.
good work.
Yes, great.
On my calendar.
Looking
Triple
forward
check.
to it. All right, the next item is 12 Dumas Road, the FEMA demolition update.
All right, so it was well worth spending the time to get the foundation question solved. So Chris Burnell worked with me. He's a river scientist, one of three that has to sign off on that. And he was in total agreement with my rationale that why we should save that foundation, because it's 6 feet off the riverbank. So I've incorporated that into the bid. So there's no options. It's just, this is the way we're going. I have the documents to back it up. FEMA's good with it. So I put out, yesterday, an ad went out in 7 days. The RFP is up on our website. I've talked to several contractors that I had names for. I have a pre-bid meeting scheduled for Monday at 12:30. So everybody's going to come. I'm going to open the house up. We're going to view it. I've already done more than most any FEMA buyout would ever do at the town level. I have the asbestos clear, it's removed. I have all the utilities cleared, they're gone. I have the demolition report, or the actual form that you have to fill out with the state is done. And we're on that 10-day waiting period. Everything is in order. So the only thing the contractor needs to come in and worry about is tearing down the house and backfilling the hole. So I'm hoping it's going to work out. My goal is to get it down by the end of the month. If it doesn't happen, I've talked to Lisa Kolb at Emergency Management. We'll do a 30-day extension.
Excellent.
Okay, great.
job.
But I'm going to get it down come hell or high water. And I will coordinate with the neighbors, and I will put out a little press release once I know what's happening. I just don't want to put out information ahead of time. I'm physically going to go talk to, the bid clearly states that no demolition activity can take place off the property. So the boundary line between the two properties, we've had the property surveyed, it's clearly marked. I'm going to have a conversation with the neighbors so they understand what's going to happen. And when we narrow it down to a certain contractor, we'll make sure that, but all the people I've spoken with seem really good. They've done this before. And he said, don't be surprised, since you put it in paper, you might have like 30 people show up. Because apparently people like these things. All right, so
that's Dumas Road.
Dumas Road, that's it.
Okay, any questions about Dumas Road?
Good work.
No, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, next thing is the speed traffic sign repair estimate.
So Russ and I talked, and, oh, sorry.
Move to authorize the town administrator to have the damaged electronic speed sign repaired for the estimate of $1,628.26 and use the funds from the fiscal year 2025 highway traffic control materials line. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
No, I just thank Russ for letting me give some money out of his line and remember get it fixed. Yeah, I do want something in return.
And I think it'd be great for the traffic on Pleasant Valley to have that back.
Sounds good.
Ditto.
And for me personally.
Ditto. Me too.
It would be nice if we could pursue the parties that were involved in taking that down and seeing the actual police report as it relates to that. And that the at-fault individuals came forward to help with that cost. You know?
Yeah, well, unfortunately.
In a great perfect world where.
Yeah. Unfortunately, speaking with the state trooper, even though we had a ping there, that's not evidence to pin somebody with a crime. So it just so happens that it coincidentally showed back up. So I don't know. I could resurrect that, but
Feel that there's more that could be done there, that there's some people that need to be held accountable for that, because that's a significant amount of money. But anyway.
well, I hate to spend too much money in the legal fees, but I can look into it. I got my hands full. Bob, with
We
a lot
have
of
other
things
fish to
going on.
fry. I'm just saying that
So-
it just kind of irks me a little bit that, this is as a result of vandalism that, the at fault, aren't being held accountable.
I totally agree, but I also believe in the justice system, and if the trooper doesn't feel like he has enough to stand on, I don't know how we're going to prove that unless we hire a private investigator or
I think
something.
that's a very difficult path to run down.
So we have dogs. All those in favor of paying $1628.26 to repair the speed limit sign, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Okay, Brad, last one. Consider the new road name for Downs Road. So we have a motion, we have a letter that came in from Nolan Frey. Is it related to Roger at all?
Yes. Yeah, Roger Fry. Yeah.
Fry?
Oh, no, no,
Oh,
different thing. Sorry.
Okay, I'll move that we approve the road name to Frey Road for the proposed 2-lot subdivision located at 43 Downs Road, currently under review with the DRB and contingent upon final subdivision approval. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Only thing I'd say is we checked the road names, Jericho Underhill, nothing's close to Fry Road,
Sweet.
so.
That was gonna be the only question, as long as it complies with our, road name regulations. I didn't know we reviewed those recently.
Yeah, we just don't want it to be even sound like a road
Mhm.
that's somewhere in town, so,
I-
or in the neighboring town.
Okay.
All those, are you ready for the question? All those in favor of approving the Frey Road designation, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Right. Now we're on to the update, review and discuss the open zoning position and contract with Chittenden County Regional Planning and consider the appointing of Maya Holmes, a Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission employee, as acting zoning administrator for the town of Underhill. In the packet, we have a memo that came from Brian. And Patty, you're going to, I'm sure, give us some suggestion, but I have two here that were suggested to me. I'm gonna give this to you, and then you can be the one to make the motions from the ones that you feel are the appropriate. Seems like you're gonna discuss it.
Okay, you want me to just make the motion now?
Sure.
We have 2 items. One is the contract, and the next is the staff person, so we'll make these separately.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept the contract as presented. Do we have any
I
changes?
do have changes, yes.
I make a motion to approve the contract substantially in the form as provided in our packet and to authorize the chair to execute the contract.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
Yes, so I have some changes here, some good ones. Basically, regional plan had some questions about insurance, some private insurance for them. So they've straightened that out. They've amended the service agreement to have the actual amounts that we will pay. So the section 7 or 11, the funding, St. George not to exceed $12,014.15. Underhill, and I'm going to hand this to you too, Underhill not to exceed $72,084.92. And I can tell you that we have 90 to 95,000 that we budget for this position each year. So I'm very pleased with this. I think it's going to work out well. The other changes that were made is wherever the term zoning administrator, it was changed to be acting zoning administrator. This is basically a little glitch in the statute.
Okay.
The indemnification has been edited to refer to CCRPC's Insurer Cheeseman Insurance Group. That's my cousin. Section 11, the not to exceed costs for that, I just explained that. Section 12, I changed the last paragraph to say the municipality may appoint a second acting zoning administrator
Excellent.
instead of shall.
Excellent.
So it may. And then Appendix A, I changed zoning town administrator to multiple municipal staff because St. George does not have a town administrator. So it's more generic, municipal staff.
Okay.
Essential job functions, I added any other duties as jointly agreed upon by the town and CCRPC. So,
And I'll just make a note that in the event things weren't working out, we can give, I think it's 90-day notice and terminate the contract. So it's for a 1-year term, and we can renew it after that year if all is working well, but in the event it's not working well, we can get out within 90 days.
Okay.
and Taylor said we could make it quicker than that. That's just in the contract. He said, if it's not working out, he said we'd expedite it quicker than that. So, this is the final copy of that agreement.
Mhm.
I'm in support of all the changes that Brad has gone through, and I've been through this contract several times, and with a lawyer, our legal counsel as well, and support the contract.
Okay.
You run the show.
And our legal counsel is actually legal counsel for all parties involved there, St. George and regional
Oh,
planning.
Well,
So,
that's convenient.
so he's looking out for all
For
three of
everybody's
us
interests.
together.
No conflict.
But that if you could just have Patty and
Can we get to
it's
sign this one?
That's just-
Okay.
just Bob, if you when you pass the motion, if you pass the motion.
It's all you. Call the question.
Are we ready? No, you're calling the question, you're the chair.
You read the motion.
Okay, all those in favor, are we ready for the question?
I'm ready.
All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's carried, 3-0. All right, next.
I do want to preface this just once, a little quick information, I think, before you read the motion. Just because I think it's smoother, because it's not germane to the motion necessarily. She has agreed to start on the 7th. However, there'll be a little orientation at regional planning first. She may be here later in the week, but I want to keep things moving and make sure I have everything cleaned up. So I suggested making her active zoning administrator effective July 14th, which is a Monday.
Okay.
So do we want that to be the agreed on date?
Well, she will be on contract earlier than that, but this is more germane to or more relevant to when her appointment as acting zoning administrator starts.
Let me back that up. What day do you want me to put as this is agreed upon? Today's date?
Oh, for the thing.
Oh, yes, today's date for that, yes. But I'm just saying, for as far as appointing her acting zoning administrator, which we have to do, makes sense to do July 14th. I talked this over to Taylor, he goes, do whatever you
Okay.
think best. So.
Mhm.
So the next piece of action we need to take is to make the appointment of the acting zoning administrator. I'm going to make a motion to appoint Maya Holmes, the Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission employee, as acting zoning administrator effective July 14, 2025.
I'll second.
Thank you. You want to run that? All right, is there discussion? And what I'll note is I sat in on the interview.
Mhm.
She's really great. I hope we can keep her for more than 2 or 3 years. She's a gem.
And she'll
She did
be
a really good job.
4 days a week in Underhill, 1 day a week in St. George.
Exactly.
Awesome.
And we talked about making sure there's no split days. You're not gonna just come here for half a day and then go over there. It's
Mhm.
dedicate the full day here.
And will it be a consistent schedule or will the days
It'll
vary?
be consistent.
Okay,
I think they're looking at having her in St. George on Wednesdays,
got it.
which will work out perfect for us because our DRB meets on Mondays.
Okay,
And she would have a specific time of office hours being physically in the building.
oh, okay.
She does have to go inspect property and
Mhm.
things of that nature. But specific office hours so that we can
So-
advertise.
Her location will be where?
Right here, right there.
Where's Larry's?
Larry will just be conflicting with her every other Thursday, so it's 1 day. I think
Can share this.
Larry could work at the table here, on his own laptop, whatever. Or I'm sure we'll work it out.
Okay. Well, it's been a long time coming. I'm thrilled to see it come
2
together.
years.
And so
Two years.
this seems like a
big.
great solution and I'm
That is
glad
really
that we got to
hard.
this point. So thank you.
Patty's really hard on interviewing people.
Oh my God. Jeez. You want me to do this?
Yeah.
You're supposed to do it. You're the chair.
This is your deal.
All right, all those in favor of the motion and appointing Maya Holmes as acting zoning administrator, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The ayes carry 3-0. I am super
Good job.
stoked on this.
Very.
It's helpful.
This helpful.
So when you were interviewing me, was I a gem?
You were,
I just want to make sure.
Diamond, I think she said.
you're a diamond.
A diamond,
Maya's a gem, you're the
diamond
diamond.
in the rough.
There's no highway section on the agenda this evening?
No, I just was really the paving and
Yeah.
I have to give you guys a break. So.
There's no one left here in the for public.
No one online.
No one's online, so there's no need to worry about that. Russ is still here though, because Russ is.
Yes.
I could tell you one thing.
Yeah, of course.
So I don't know if everybody's aware that our excavator broke down. I know I've been working with Bob. Yeah.
Last week.
Last Monday afternoon.
The new one?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It happened on Poker Hill Road. We were up there and they came and they were able to fix it on site. And then a month later, it happened again. Excuse me, same code, same situation. So they thought maybe defective. It was a sensor. So they came, put the new sensor in, it didn't fix it. So we ended up having to bring it to the dealership last Thursday, I think it was. But it broke down Monday afternoon. We had to bring it there Thursday. Had to order parts, got pretty complicated. Parts are finally all in. We're hoping to have it back together tomorrow. We're gonna run it for a while, do their things, and hopefully tomorrow afternoon, if not Monday, it'll be back. So we did end up renting a machine from Johnson Hardware to continue our efforts in the valley, which has worked out good. So we had a week for that. So next Tuesday, Monday, hoping we'll bring that one back Monday and we'll pick up ours on Monday. That's my plan.
Fingers
But
crossed.
everything's moving along up there. Shouldn't be too much longer, but
2 more weeks.
couple weeks probably.
And service has been responsive?
Very,
Excellent.
yeah, very communicative.
I think
Calls
Greg, and this is a good test of
Once or
service.
twice a day to give me updates, good or bad. So no, they've been very good. And everything breaks down.
Exactly.
Okay. She has moved on. Yeah, she's been tough.
And the stop,
No
the
crying
stop,
or anything.
The only select board
stoplights-
member who hasn't had carpal tunnel of
That's
of
right.
those present tonight, so.
We're not as tough as she is.
But don't ask me if I made a motion or not. Was I even here?
I know you've been through, I've seen you go through, but the stoplight system,
Yeah, stoplight, I like that a
Mhm.
lot.
Did she stop?
she wasn't in her pickup, she had a white car. She saw Dwayne. I'm like, oh, she's incognito.
She's like that, she's tricky.
So I really don't know if she's going through. A lot of white cars go through, but that has been fantastic.
I was gonna ask how that was going and
Yeah.
how the crew feels safety wise and traffic response wise.
95% of the people obey it,
Mm-hmm.
Somebody doesn't
Oh,
go through?
or they'll stop in the oncoming traffic. And then when the cars come through, they gotta get out of the way and let them through. Oh yeah, but it's a small percentage.
I think it's great.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
Do we own those or are renting?
We're renting those. Yeah, we'll rent them for a month, but we'll have to rent them for probably another couple of weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're at the point in the agenda where we review and approve warrants in minutes of the 2022 regular scheduled meeting, so.
So I'm gonna ask a question before you make the motion. I would have to abstain because I was not at that meeting.
For the minutes.
For the minutes, because I was not there, so I don't know if that's something
We'll-
we have
we'll-
to hold for
yeah,
another
we'll-
meeting.
We'll pause on that.
Okay.
Because
We'll skip the minutes then.
we can do the pay stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the warrant stuff. I'm gonna move that we approve the warrants dated June 1st, 2025. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Ready for the question?
Mhm.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. I move that we approve the payroll warrant dated June 3rd, 2025. Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of approving the payroll warrant dated June 3rd, 2025, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed with a nay. Motion carries 3-0. And last but not least, I'll move that we approve the warrants dated June 5th, 2025. Is there a second?
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 There you
Oh,
go.
sorry.
You guys can,
I was just
you can arm wrestle over who gets to do it.
Patty's got it.
Okay.
It was just
Even
like.
if- It's because she's tough.
Take 2 years to approve these.
That's right. All those in favor of approving the warrants dated June 5th, 2025, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. We're going to hold off on the approving of the meeting minutes.
You can put them back in that folder, Bob,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
We got a
That was the correspondence.
correspondence that we have. So we're done with this. I can read that. Any member items, correspondence, announcements, schedule. The next scheduled select board meeting is supposed to be held on June 26th, 2025 at 6 o'clock. Patty, I know this is going to bring a tear to your eye, but I likely will not be, I may not be here.
It'll bring a tear to my eye.
I will be remote. Yeah.
I don't know if I will or will not. I'm likely going to be in Western New York.
I will be here on the 26th, so I can cover chair duties.
Can we just look forward to July for a quick sec?
Sure.
Anything for you, Brad?
10th, the 10th. Just wondering what people's schedules are. like.
I'm not here for July 10th.
Okay.
I will not be in person, but I will be able to attend remotely.
What's the problem on the 10th?
What's that?
What's the problem with the 10th?
No, nothing. It's just, I'm just seeing what's happening. So typically I get the packet to Bob on Friday, right, for the meeting, so you can
Because of the
review
4th of
it.
July.
So it's the 4th of July on a Friday. Either, I'm just trying to get a feel for who's going to be present. Maybe we could just have a light meeting, if possible.
Very late.
It would be nice to have, it's just been going for a long time here. And
Why don't we,
and-
can we just not meet on the 10th?
I think it's good to have just a brief meeting for warrants and stuff, because we're gonna have to close the period and.
Why don't we do it, why don't we limit to payroll
Yeah.
and warrants only?
Yeah.
Unless there's something earth shattering,
Yeah.
Patty thinks needs to happen.
That would be awesome. I'd appreciate it.
That sounds
Because
great.
then it'll be getting geared up because Maya will be coming the 14th, and I really
Oh,
want to
yeah.
get prepared
sense.
for her. So that would be great.
If we could do that, that would be wonderful, because I'm not gonna really wanna look at and approving an agenda over the holiday.
No,
Mhm.
me neither.
So if we can, right, so if we could just keep it to just real basic
Yeah.
warrants and,
Mhm.
We may have to set the, keep in mind, we may have to set the tax rate. Remember, that's right in there. So we may have to have a little quick special thing, but the tax rate sets itself, as we know.
Mhm.
You have the ability to tack on some dollars, but that's not advisable.
Okay.
But I'll keep you posted on that.
On the 24th of July, I will be out of town and not able to join remotely. So just
Okay.
as a heads up. It's a very busy
You
summer.
are just a busy person.
That's why I had to have a hands free deal before summer.
Brad, I'm tied up beginning the 10th, and I'll be back on the 13th, but I don't have cell service.
Okay.
In Tunbridge,
Yeah, I know. Go to the,
there's no cell.
there's
service.
one school or library. There's one place. I
Yeah.
remember I tried to tell you. I think I tried to tell you what it was.
It's-
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself.
It's in a hall.
Or the dog show, and I'm at
make sure you buy,
treats and all the dogs.
Stay in
Up to the town
make
hall.
sure you buy a gift, because Russ's birthday's the 17th.
Need a Tunbridge gift. I'll get you a creamy.
There you go.
Keep it in your cooler.
Fried dough.
Exactly.
Okay, but I will let you know about this tax. Well, we'll know on the 26th.
We're gonna have another meeting.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to look ahead a little bit. I like the
Planning.
plan way out.
Mhm.
So we got a couple correspondence. One is significant, the other one is like almost a thank you. We'll do the easy one first. We saw this, the town of Underhill, the family of Edwin Lord III thanks us for the use of the town hall on May 3rd to celebrate his life. Please accept a donation towards your renovation efforts for $150.
That's
From
It
the
was
family.
very kind.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's when the day the toilet backed up when they were not going to be here. So,
Good thing we have other toilets.
yes.
And then we want to get into the letter that we just got from a concerned citizen that came the beginning of the week.
Yeah, I could just simply summarize it. I received a call from an individual that had a complaint regarding trash and bears and basically overall garbage on a property
Mhm.
that was blowing into the road, and the bears were into the garbage and then roaming onto this other person's property. Then a day or two later, received a written, and I'm not saying that it was this certain individual, but just happened to receive a written complaint in the mailbox. So we sent that off to the attorneys. There's some correspondence there, but just saying that we received that and we're working on it for whenever you guys think you can get together to meet on that.
So, right, so I have talked with Deb about this letter. I think we all received that in an email,
Mhm.
a copy of that letter. That letter can be made part of the record, so if we can have that for the minutes, for,
Well, it's draft form right now, so it's attorney-client privilege at the moment until we work out the final wording of the letter.
Wait, the
no, the
letter,
letter that
The
we
one we
received.
received.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, absolutely,
The
yes,
letter, the letter
absolutely.
that we received, I think should go into
Yes,
our next packet.
sure,
So if we could have that, because it just came in,
absolutely.
and Deb, our, Moore is our health officer. She is aware, and we are waiting on legal guidance, on what next steps are going to be. And then, we will likely have a special meeting sometime once, as soon as possible, and find out what people's availability is, and we can, discuss that further. But just want to make that announcement.
so one of the complaints was noise, and per our ordinance, there are decibel levels
There are,
At the boundary of the property?
could be.
Is someone going to take a reading?
What,
I
Probably
live
should
a half
just-
a mile away. I don't have issues with
Yeah.
dogs.
I don't think noise is really the root
It's
of
in
the
the letter,
problem.
though.
Yeah,
It's in this person's letter.
yeah, I know.
I think it needs to, I think it needs to be looked at by legal, and I think that we need to have a special meeting to get into the,
Okay,
the,
so all that will be
the
discussed
grants.
in terms of,
Would be my preference.
okay.
Okay, I think that makes sense.
And I believe, I did pose a question, but I believe it could be an executive session, at least as far as discussing the attorney-client privilege with the letter before you release it. So,
Yeah, and I think that when we have this special meeting, I'd like to try and include Deb and Jennifer.
Okay.
So when we do that, I will be, just so that it's very transparent, that like to involve those two individuals as our animal control, because that dealing with an animal, and with Deb because of the health issues.
multiple animals, yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll try to do something during the day or something that works out for everybody, so
That
I'll
sounds
reach
good.
out.
We'll wait until folks get back from Dan's away and everything like that, so
Sharp's
Shar's away. So. All right, anything else? Anybody got anything? Okay. Next, that's it. So again, it's all about what you want.
Move the adjourn.
A second.
Excellent.
All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 7:36 PM.
Awesome job,
Well
Chair.
Almost a half hour